Good afternoon. My name is Sandro Burgos, Hearing Officer for San Francisco Public Works. Charisse Waiters is the clerk of this hearing. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet. So if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider one item, Hearing Order 211027, to consider the removal of 3 street trees with replacement adjacent to 1939 Market Street. Tree removal permit number 794913. Staff denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. Order number 185486. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the Director. The Director will make the final determinations. When the Director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows for the one case. I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. There is no time limit for this presentation. Then I will allow the property owner or appellant or applicant to speak. Then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have a standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you are a member of the public or witness who wants to speak, wait for me to call for public comments. Then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you are dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you are raising your hand. When it is your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. If I feel a question is warranted, I will ask the question. After all comments are completed, I will then close the item. We will now begin the hearing. At this time, we will open the hearing to public comments. Members of the public may make comments on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Any public comments at this time?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Josh Clip? Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, and just to be clear, even though I am a newly appointed member of the Urban Forestry Council, I'm speaking in my capacity as a member of the public. Okay, here's my public comment. At 13.7%, San Francisco has the smallest urban canopy of any major city in the United States. According to San Francisco Public Works, other major U.S. cities average 25% tree canopy. In 2014, San Francisco issued an urban forest plan that called for the net addition of around 2,500 street trees per year. In 2021, San Francisco issued a climate action plan that called for the net addition of 40,000 new street trees by 2040. According to the most recent San Francisco Urban Forestry Council report, since 2017, San Francisco has not net gained a single street tree. In fact, San Francisco has lost around 1,300 street trees, and this loss is set against a backdrop of severe underfunding of the planting and watering of new street trees. There is no money for street tree planting set aside in the annual city budget. The majority of funding for street tree planting comes from donations, in lieu fees, grants, and Prop K. The city's 2021 Climate Action Plan, a plan drafted in response to the 2019 declaration that we are in a climate emergency, also called for a policy of preserving trees for construction and infrastructure, and it called for this policy by 2023. And here we are, it's almost 2025, and not a single city department has implemented this crucial climate strategy. Notably, the Climate Action Plan didn't call for these policies because they were just nice to have. It called for these plans because they are a need to have as part of a larger plan for San Francisco's future climate resilience. According to our city's own plans, records, and reports, we're failing ourselves and our future by continuing to remove trees without exploring alternatives, allowing driveways and other private infrastructure to remove healthy trees, and we're not coming close to replacing what we're taking out. It's against this backdrop of all this that I hope the department will consider the single matter on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Josh. Are there any other public comments at this time?
Yes, good afternoon, John Alter here. I would appreciate that there would be no rebuttals because that only prolongs the hearing, and also just to give a chance to everybody for your instructions ahead of time that doesn't include everybody to rebut. And also, this is a tree hearing and nothing else, and I really appreciate people stick to trees, not to everything else that's not relevant to the hearing on trees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Are there any other public comments at this time? If there are no more comments for this item, I will close this item. This item is now closed. The first item on today's agenda is order number 211027. May I have Public Works make its presentation?
Can everyone see my screen? Should have the Public Works logo.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I just some background. Again, we always go through this, but our goal is to ensure a safe, clean, and green infrastructure and right-of-way. And our mission is to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing safety and the needs of a growing and evolving city. So in this case, again, as with many cases, we're trying to balance the need to grow the urban forest, preserve it, and recognizing that this is a growing and evolving city and there will be development related projects. I'm going to move more quickly through this because it's more about street tree maintenance and we don't have a case pertaining to that. And just to clarify, and for anybody who needs the information, we have a tree ordinance that establishes authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. And our urban forestry ordinance, San Francisco's urban forestry ordinance, is codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. And we always give this update, even though it's a couple years old by now. If the department is removing a tree or replacement required within 120 days, and if it cannot be replanted, it must be replanted in a nearby location. And if we can't replant it within 120 days, it goes on a delayed replacement tree report. This isn't a Public Works initiated removal, so it doesn't apply here. But what does apply here is if an owner and applicant is granted a removal permit or removal of a healthy tree, the department shall require a replacement street tree of equivalent value to the one removed or imposed in lieu fee. So this project basically is initiating the removal of 3 trees. I believe it's required 10 trees just to exist after the project is over. And if the project replaces the 3 trees, it won't be the equivalent value. The 3 36-inch box trees won't equate to the same value, so we will assess the difference between those. And that's what it says here in the simple example: the appraised value of the subject tree minus the value of the replacement tree. We require 24-inch box. If the project replaces a 36, we would make considerations for that. And then we have our tree removal criteria. And these aren't set in stone, and everything is case by case. We don't rubber stamp anything. We assess every single tree, and we weigh each removal very carefully and take all these criteria into account. So just to move quickly to the case, the Public Works Order number 211027, and it's to consider removal of 3 street trees with replacement adjacent to 1939 Market. Our bureau has denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. So these are the 3 trees. We order the trees by flow of traffic. So tree 1 on the right, tree 2, tree 3, or rather the building on the right and the tree to your left. These are, I believe, are 2 lots that will be merged. So by the time the DBI permit gets approved, we will be treating it as 1 lot, I believe. And if not, then we'll assess everything separately. It depends on the timing of the lot, but we will fairly treat this project the way we treat all projects and lot lines. So they are established trees. They're not perfect, especially this tree on the left here with this interesting structure and lean. But it's extremely difficult to get street trees to establish on market. So while we recognize that they're not absolutely perfect trees, they're fairly large stature trees with canopy that comes back year after year. It's not perfect, but the trees are growing. They have put on growth over the years. And they've reached a larger size than a lot of the trees on lower market. So we really do think that they're worth retaining. And because of how difficult it is to establish street trees on market, we are concerned that any sort of replacement tree would struggle to meet this size. But any large tree you see in the city, it takes a lot to get a tree to reach this size. And quite frankly, this isn't even a large tree, just objectively speaking, but this is a large tree for San Francisco. So, and it contributes to the canopy in a neighborhood that has a lot of traffic, has a lot of foot traffic, has a lot of vehicle traffic, and green infrastructure really contributes to the overall livelihood of a neighborhood. And as you start to diminish canopy and have smaller street trees that fail to establish, you really impact pedestrian walkability. People choose not to walk in streets with canopy, and you increase the amount of particulates that aren't captured by the canopy from vehicles. This is a very heavily trafficked area. So yeah, again, these aren't perfect trees, but these are pretty good for Market Street in San Francisco. And yeah, we're not entirely confident that replacement trees would really meet this size or quality of a street tree. And like this tree has an injury, but when a tree is hit by a car and doesn't fail, sometimes that means it's probably protected the street from having a car go across the road. So we've seen a lot of large trees protect the community in instances of accidents and traffic, speeding. A smaller tree would immediately be run over. So they act to protect the community as well. As it stands here, it can be replaced, but I'm not sure if the plan provided lines up. Like it doesn't look like it can be replaced in the exact location. Like we can get 3 replacement trees on the whole lot, but I'm not sure that these specific sites can be replaced. And so it does have some sidewalk damage, but like these are really small basins. We would happily expand these. We can go down to a 4-foot path of travel. And it's not even that much uplift. So you could probably repair the sidewalk without root pruning too much. Again, pretty minor sidewalk damage. Yeah. And there is a wound here, but you can see the edges of the wound, how they're sort of rounded. It's compartmentalizing, and it is a large wound, but we're not really concerned about extensive decay and flatness. So and quite frankly, the condition of the trees are not really what's up for discussion here. What's up for discussion is like we would like to retain these trees because they provide value to our urban forest. They took a lot to establish. we don't want to keep removing canopy, because the more canopy we remove, the farther we fall behind. We're really behind in growing our canopy here, and every time we remove an established tree and replace it with a small one, we fall even further behind. And quite frankly, with these massive heat waves, we're seeing a lot of planting shock with these young trees, and it's getting really, really difficult to establish new street trees. So we're really hesitant to approve a larger street tree, especially where, here in DuBose, we just see this large parking lot. We know this other building might get demolished. We see like this frontage on DuBose, and we're really just asking for consideration that, the trees on this frontage be preserved and a solution be found for building the building without removing these trees. And then, so we got a response for that. We usually just ask for a statement on why the trees need to be removed. And the project is going to be 15 stories. And I'll let the project team speak to reviewing the options for site logistics. But as you can all see, the execution of the final logistics plan, they determined that it required the removal of the trees. So, and I just want to make clear, our objective is not to prevent a building from being built. We're simply asking that trees be preserved while buildings are built, so that people who are often moving into these affordable housing complexes get the benefits of these large established trees the way the single family homeowners and residents receive the benefits of their large established trees, because often the single family homes, they can retain their trees. So their construction logistics don't require this level of removal. And so it does start to become an equity issue where you have large affordable housing complexes with no canopy. So, we're asking that this canopy be retained for everybody's sake, for the city's sake, and for the future residents' sake. So this plan is why I'm a little concerned that the replacement plan may not line up, because there's these two vaults here in this logistics plan. And so I could just ask for clarification from the project team. And we did have some staffing shifts, so I'm not fully, this project is fairly new to me, but like you see this, there's a line here going under this existing tree canopy, which does sort of demonstrate that they do need to trench in major roots, and then they need to drop a vault very close to the tree, and then there's a vault next to it, and so I guess it's just a little confusing because we do have a replacement plan that was provided. It's very far back, and I think we just need a little clarification here because we have this replacement plan with a tree and this bulb out, and just making sure that those vaults and lines that are planned don't actually impact this replacement plan. So we're concerned about the replacement feasibility, and just overall, like, we want to retain, probably most importantly, the tree in the corner, but definitely tree 2. This is kind of troublesome with this curb cut. I totally recognize and understand that tree 3 does have, so this is tree 2. I think it has pretty good structure. It does have a kind of a large extended limb that can be pruned. This is tree 3, and yeah, it does have a lean and like this codominant stem, and it's much smaller. Even like an amended removal plan that reduces the number of trees but doesn't remove all of them, like, we'd be interested in seeing some other options. So yeah, this is tree 3, and yeah, it's not as large stature and good structure as the other 2 trees, but it's still, to us, worth retaining. And so it's just, again, the replacement plan. So I kind of went straight to the replacement plan. If people want me to go back to these other photos, I can. But I think that really getting to the crux of the issue which is we think that these trees are worth retaining, and we're a little concerned that, these sites on the upper portion here on Market, they may not actually be replaceable based on that previous plan we saw. And we may want to look at these proposed species, or the layouts. They're generally fine, but we may want to reevaluate. Yeah, so it does look like the project's proposing 10 trees, which is great. But we are again a little concerned about the replacement tree plan and the current layout here. So, and also often with vaults, we see down the line, like, oh, we couldn't actually plant that tree. It's too close. Or PG&E didn't like where we put that vault, so we had to move it where the tree is. So we don't really want any of those sorts of surprises. Because by then, like, it's 3 years down the line and the project can't, we can't take it back to a hearing at that point. So we really want these issues resolved early. So that kind of concludes Market Street. I went through it kind of quickly so that we could have time to hear the comments and other respect for everybody's time. But if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Susan. Is the applicant or appellant here to speak?
Yes, give me just one moment. I'm going to promote them to panelists because they have a presentation to make.
Very well.
So now you will need to unmute yourself, and there you go.
Hi, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I'll share my screen. Let me know if you see this.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Perfect. And as part of our presentation, I think I mentioned to you in the chat, but Lee and Blake will also be presenting alongside me. And then Roy Leggett is here for any questions. So,
Okay.
hi, my name is Sean Wills. I'm a senior project developer at Mercy Housing. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for the presentation, Susan. So I'll just start with a little bit of background about the project. It's 1939 Market Street. This is a 15-story, 187-unit project for seniors ages 62 plus. Earnings between 15% area median income to 60% area median income, so extremely low to very low income seniors, and is designed as an LGBTQ plus friendly building with significant input from the community. It's designed by Paulette Taggart Architects, and Lee Stickles is on today from our landscape architect TS Studios, and Blake Nelson is from our general contractor, Swinnerton Builders. So this 187 unit project is in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. It's Mayor's Office and Housing and Community Development, or MOCD land, and we are the long-term ground lessee on the project. So it's a MOCD owned and sponsored project. And this is part of their plan to fulfill their housing goals to the city. I do want to note that Lee will be talking about the tree planting plan. You can see, I know you mentioned, Susan, that tree 1 about planting there. So you will see in the tree planting plan, the updated plan we have, that there is a tree in that exact location. And Blake will be here to discuss construction logistics. We looked at this from every angle possible, and it is quite a tight site logistically. We're going to have to take over part of Market Street to actually build the project. We're squeezing in 187 units, as many units as possible, to get as many units. And the logistics are I'll let Blake go through it, but the logistics are quite tight, and unfortunately, there's no way to build the project without removing all 3 trees. And so, you know, we would definitely want to collaborate with you on this tree planting plan and make sure there's as much canopy as possible. So I'll pass it over to Lee. And Lee and Blake, let me know when you want me to move slides, and I'll move slide for you. Are Lee and Blake, I guess, I don't know, promoted to speak?
There we go.
Panels?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you.
great. Sorry, everyone. I don't know why my video isn't coming through.
Your video is not coming through because I did not promote you to panelist. Do you
Oh, okay.
want me
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
do?
No, I don't. I just need to speak.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
you will have,
everyone.
you'll have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. So this is the existing aerial. You can see the 3 trees in question are to the north of our site that Susan went over. Next. And you know, tree number 1 is on the corner here, the biggest, largest, nicest tree with 2 and 3 to follow. And for our tree planting plan, here are the existing trees with the little red circles that we would like to remove. We're planting 5 Platanus acerfolia Columbia along Market. Also planning to have a continuous soil trench with permeable pavers and structural soil to support the trees as much as possible to get them, you know, to as full growth as they can on the street. On DuBose, we have 5 Ceanothus Ray Hartman. These we have smaller trees in this location because we're under the power lines here. We also are planning for 672 square feet of planting within the street furniture area, which, you know, we want to focus on California natives and drought plants. So this is all the equivalent of about 18.96 trees, and I believe 18 are required. In both areas, we want to, you know, focus on that continuous soil trench to make sure that these grow as full as they can. And of course, in terms of the species and locations and all of that, we are more than happy to work out any of those issues and make sure we have a plan that everyone, you know, can work with. Thank you.
Blake?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Hi, I'm Blake Nelson, Senior Project Manager with Swinnerton Builders, working on the 1939 project. I have 2 logistics plans that I wanted to go over today. This one is during construction of the project. You'll see a couple things I want to point out is you see our tower crane in the southern corner of the building. That will come into play on the next slide. On DuBose, there are overhead PG&E power lines that are existing and are going to stay there. So we cannot perform any activities along DuBose. So we're sort of squeezed into everything being on Market Street. So on Market Street, you'll see the 3 trees represented by the pink circles. And we wanted to show those and just how our logistics kind of are going to fit over top of those. On the left-hand side, at tree 1, that is where our transformer is going for our temp power. That's been coordinated with PG&E. Then skipping tree number 2, if we move on to tree number 3, that is where our man lift is going, represented by those 2 red boxes. This is coordinated with the building design and kind of the strip of curtain wall that you saw earlier with the rainbow colors. So that's where our man lift has to go. And so we're really squeezed by having our deliveries and our trash be kind of in between those two spots along Market Street. So you'll see our trash and dumpsters are kind of right where number tree 2 is. And to remove the trash, we'll have a truck that has to back in over top of that tree number 2. And then just on the right-hand side, you'll see a truck, and that's where we'll have a lot of deliveries come in, back up into the site, and off haul directly onto the man lift. The next, if you go to the next slide, the next stage of construction is when we have to take our tower crane down. So we will be taking up some of Market Street, and you see our mobile crane that'll be sitting right on top of tree
30 seconds.
Tree 2 and 3. And there's just really no other location that large mobile crane can sit, especially because we'll still have our temp electricity there. So that's all I have. I think next slide just shows what the mobile crane sitting on Market Street looks like. It's very, very large. I just wanted to point that out in case people were not familiar with what that would look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentations. I'll be sending you back as a guest, Sean. Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for the presentations. Are there any members of the public who wishes to make comments?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Mr. Clip.
Great, thanks, Reese. It's still too uncommon for Public Works to deny a removal applicant, so I appreciate that they did here. These trees in particular were preserved by the Upper Market Project 4 years ago. They survived 2 brutal winters featuring hurricane force winds, even that leaning tree, but now a developer wants to take them down because they seem to lack the imagination when it comes to construction. Of particular concern is the note that, what is this, for a temporary vault? Are we permanently removing green infrastructure for a dumpster or deliveries? What I just heard is that these are inconvenient for construction. This is not what you would call in San Francisco a tight space. This is a triangular lot where you've got 0 trees on an entire side of that triangle. Did the applicant bother to ask PG&E for a permit to temporarily reroute the lines? I suspect that killing trees is just cheaper because that hasn't been brought up by the applicant tonight. My first tree removal appeal was in 2017, and it had to do with the placement of a power vault there. After I appealed and met on site with the developers, turned out there were alternatives. When BART sought to remove 60 trees along Market Street for construction, we fought back and got that down to 11 because they mostly sought to remove those trees for the ease of construction. With regard to planting is required for new construction. Replacement due to removal is not the same thing. So ultimately, even if this permit is granted, it's another net loss. To the extent this involves affordable housing, just to note that the richest neighborhoods in our city have the most tree canopy, and the opposite is true for our city's poorest neighborhoods. And it shouldn't just be rich people who get trees. Our city knows this, and that's why trees are considered an aspect of environmental justice, especially seniors who may not be able to travel the distance it takes to go and sit under a tree. Also, I appreciate Susan's note that trees can protect pedestrians, and this entire section of Market Street is part of the city's high injury network, which means that not only are these trees doing a service to our climate and ecosystems, they may also be saving lives, particularly the lives of vulnerable senior citizens who may live at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clip. We have John Nolte. Go ahead, Mr. Nolte.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. A couple of issues here. Apparently, last month's BAR, it said that there's no funding for this project, and so they lost the $117,000 of hard costs and $38 million of soft costs through the state. So therefore, if you don't have any money coming in to build this project, this permit should be mute. This is a problem we've had a number of years where a project is pushed through and you don't have the money for it. And this project has already been delayed by 2 years, and it's going to be delayed another year to get this money. So therefore, this permit should not even be heard because they don't even have the money to build the property, to build the project. And they need approximately $160 million to do so, and they only have like 2 or 3 million from the city, and the rest of it they did not get from the state. So this is a problem I have when people are urgently to do things. The executive director of Open, their partner, has resigned, and was hoping to have this project 2 years ago before he decided to move on for the grand opening or the groundbreaking. So this is going to be extended another year or more. So I don't even see a reason why this is being heard at this hearing. This is a problem I have when zealous people just have the development money or a little bit of money, and then they're going forward. And then if they don't get the money from the state, then they're down to zero. And this is because of it happened in Terraline, several places where there was no you tear down the building and then there's no money to rebuild. So I'm questioning the validity of this hearing on this project because there's no money from the state to move forward for Mercy Housing to build this project. Thank you.
Are there any additional public comments? If there are no more comments for this item, I will close the item. Right. This item is now closed, and I will make my recommendations to the director. Are there any public comments on any of the items on the agenda? If you have spoken, you will not be allowed to speak again. This is for those who might have come in late or did not have a chance to speak. If there are no more public comments, I'm closing this hearing. This hearing is now closed. Thank you all for your time today.